Hi, good morning everyone, it's Julia from Crosspatch. Finally, I'm back. My life is full weddings and a funeral, almost. I've had a wedding, a funeral, a quilt show, a holiday, and I'm back to electricians about to rewire my house. So life is crazy chaotic, but finally I thought I'd do this video before the electricians turn the electric off tomorrow. And I'm going to show you how to do the flip and stitch for this bag. So it's a simple tote bag. All I've done is I've flip and stitched around a hexagon on the front, and I've used a nice piece of linen on the back. These are all Moda fabrics. I did have kits for these, but they sold out last night because I did a Facebook demo on the Crosspatch Facebook page, and I only had a few kits because the stock of this was really low. So it's just a simple tote bag. You can put a zip in the top if you want. Really easy to make. Dimensions finished about 16 inches square, and the handles are 20 inches long in total each, but obviously you can make them longer if you want. Okay, so I've made this one using bosal or a bosal type, like a spongy type of wadding, so it makes the bag more firm and it will sort of stand up on its own. Or you can use H640. I'm just going to move the bag to one side for a minute. In fact, I'll put it down there. You can use H640. So here's another sample. This is just the sample of the front of the bag, and it's slightly smaller because I made it in a rush yesterday. So this is using French General fabric, and I've just used random strips when I was cutting the packs to go on the website. This is still available. I was cutting 2.5 inch strips, and these were the neatening edges, as it were, off the end of the bolts before I cut the strips. So these are all random sizes, whereas this one here is they're all more or less the same size. So the strips on this, I had jelly roll strips and I cut them in half lengthways. So they're half of 2.5 inches width. Okay, and then these ones are all completely random sizes. And as I say, this is just a sample, so it's only about 14 inches square, but I'll just make it into a little bag anyway. And I've used a French General linen again for the hexie, and on the back will be this. Okay, so you need to cut your squares of bosal, so cut 2 squares of about 17 inches or H640, and fuse your backing to one of the pieces, and then I just quilted it diagonally across each way, 2 inches apart. Okay, and when I get round to doing the French General one, I'll do the same, but I'm doing that out of H640 just so people can see the difference. Okay, so let's put that to one side. You will need, if you've got an old jelly roll, you'll need about 10 strips of 2.5 inches by 40 inches, and you'll still have a few scraps left over. For the handles, I used 5-inch strips and folded them in half, but you could join some jelly roll strips to make your handles as well. And you'll need 2.5 inch strips if you're doing the zip unit. So again, jelly roll strips are perfect. So when you start off, I'll just start off showing you with the pretty light coloured fabrics. These are all Moda fabrics, just to show you where to place your hexagon on your square of fabric. So this is like a 17-inch square of fabric, and you want to put your hexagon slightly nearer the top than the bottom. Okay, so you want it about, hang on, it's that way, isn't it? Let's hold it that way because I've stitched that bit, you can see it. You want it about 1 inch nearer the top seam, which will be that seam, than the bottom seam, because the bottom seam you're going to lose like 1 inch when you do the gusset, so that when you finish the bag it looks like it's in the middle. Okay, so pin your hexagon to the middle of the fabric, and I'm going to take you down to the machine now. So I'm going to move you down a step so you can see the sewing machine. Okay, hopefully you can see it okay. Let's move it over that way a bit. Right, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just doing the sample on a small square of fabric. Okay, let's move the machine a bit closer to me. So I've started with the hexagons in the just an inch up above from one side on the fabric, and I'm going to cut, I've cut a strip of fabric which is long enough to cover, plus a bit extra, one side of the hexagon. Let's move you over a bit there, there you go, like that, and I'm going to stitch that down right sides together with a hexagon. So let's just stitch that down. Okay, so I'll stitch that down, and then I'm going to flip that piece back. So I'm going to flip that piece back, and you can see it's overlapping each end. And then I'm going to get another piece of fabric, so let's get another bit of this French General, and I'm going to place it across, and I want it long enough. It's really difficult to place this so you can see it. I want it long enough so it will cover from one end of the other strip to the other side of the hexagon, so that's going to be long enough. And I'm going to I'll stitch it in place on top of there. I've got the selvage on there, like that. And you can see now you've got this flap here. You're going to cut that excess off, and then you will fold this flap back. So I'm going to cut that little strip off. I'm going to fold that back. And then I'm going to keep going round, and I'm going to move you back up so you can see better now. So I'm going to fold that back like that. I'm going to keep going round and keep cutting the excess off. So when you've gone round, you'll end up with that, and then you're going to start doing the second row. So I've already sewed one strip on the second row there. I'm going to get another piece, so we're back to the pretty fabrics now. Let's get another piece, so it's long enough, that'll do. So I've sewn that bit on. I'm going to get another bit, just keep going clockwise round. I'll just sew it in place and then I'll hold it up to show you, and you can see what I mean then. Let's go super fast. Right. Okay, so it's the same idea. I've sewn another piece. I'm going to cut that excess off there. I'm going to flip it back, and then I'm just going to keep going round, and eventually you'll end up with something that looks like that. Now when you've got to this point where you've got to the edge of your fabric and you've got like a triangle left there, all you need to do is add strips across here and just flip them back until they've completely covered your fabric, and then you'll end up with your finished panel that will look like the front of the bag. So you've flipped and stitched, and basically you've quilted it as you've gone along. If you want to add some fancy stitches afterwards, you can. So I've just gone round the hexagon in the middle. If you want to add a strip of lace, add it now and do it an inch from the top of your bag, so that you've got room to stitch your bag handles on, and plus it doesn't disappear in the seam when you put the bag together. Okay, so you've got your two finished panels. You've got your front panel and your back panel, and you're going to place them right sides together, and you're going to stitch them all round, so you will end up with your finished bag unit. So this is just a sample I use for all my videos of how I make the gusset. So this is just random fabric, so it's not that fabric. So I've got the bag panels are sewn together. I'm going to make the gusset by folding that side seam down against the bottom seam of the bag, and I'm going to draw a line across. Now I usually make it so it's 1.5 inches each side and stitch across. So when you stitch across, that's what you'll end up with. Now some people, most people, cut out that like square shape out of the bottom of the bag and then just sew it together. Well, then you're just left with a little seam in the bottom of your bag, and if you're like me and you carry the kitchen sink around with you, your bag's quite weak, so that will make it sturdier. So leave it in. I always leave it in. So, and then turn the bag right sides out. So remembering this is just random fabric, it's not a flip and stitch bag. And pretend we've done the other side as well. So just turn that right sides out. And that, leaving that bit in, makes it sturdy in the bottom, especially when, like, this is H640 fabric as well, so it makes it sturdy on the bottom. Okay, do the same with your lining. So you've got 2 lining pieces, stitch right sides together, do your gusset bit again in the corner like that, exactly the same, but leave a 6-inch gap in one of the seams. Okay, open so you can turn the bag out. So the lining pieces obviously need to be the same size as your finished bag panel, so approximately 16.5 inches, but measure your bag panel and then cut your lining fabric. Don't cut it first. Put your bag right sides out, your linings inside out, and then all you need to do is stitch around the top seam, and then you'll turn it out through the gap that's in the side seam, and then turn it inside out, shove the lining in the bag. So you've got your finished bag, and then we're going to make bag handles to sew on top. Okay, so let's make the bag handles. So the way I do all my bag handles is to stitch them, is to cut 5-inch strips of fabric. So 5-inch by 20-inch for a tote bag. This is a smaller one because it's for a little carrying case, a little stitchery carrying case. And then fuse 2.5 inches by the length of your handle to one side. So this is H640 again, or H630 if you want, it's up to you. Then you fold right sides together, so the lining's that side, that's just fabric, and stitch down the side seams and into the middle, leaving a 2-inch gap there. Turn it right sides out and then fold it in half again. So I've folded the whole handle in half, and I've top stitched from about 2.5 inches either end, 2.5 inches, 3 inches, depending on what you're making each end, and you'll end up with a handle that looks like that. So that's the back of the handle, that's the front of the handle. So those bits sit nicely on top of the front of your bag. So if I just grab the bag, you can see how they will sit on the front of your bag, and you just top stitch them in place. If you want to put a zip on your bag, this is the way I do it, because I could never work out how to do zips. So I've invented my own nice way, easy way of doing it. It won't work with every project, but it works with these. And I make the zip, let me say, 1.5 to 2 inches longer each end, and it just sits on the top of your bag. So if I show you how to make a zip unit, grab a zip which is longer than you need. So this bag's 16.5 inches wide roughly, and I always have a stash of 20-inch zips. Okay, so I get a 20-inch zip. Now remember I said earlier, get some jelly roll strips if you want to put a zip in. Your jelly roll strips the same length as your zip, and you fold them in as if you were doing binding, so in twice, fold them in each side, fold them in half, and this makes a casing for your zip, and you just sew them on each side of your zip, making sure that you're not catching the actual zip in. So sew them on each side of your zip. I don't even use a zipper foot, I just leave the normal foot on my machine, and you'll end up with something that looks like this. Okay, so there's the front, there's the back. So you need to keep some more little strips to go on the end of your zip. So these again 2.5 inches wide by 3 inches length. If you want a longer zipper tab on the end, make them longer, but for the zip this size I've used the 3-inch one, so that will give you a tab that size on the end. Okay, so you place these on the end of your zip and you fold it round to the back. So you place it on the front, fold it round to the back like that, and then stitch straight across. Okay, and then you just pull it up like that, and then fold it down at the top and fold it over to the back to make a zipper tab, and then when it's finished it'll look like that. And then all you need to do now is top stitch that to the top of your bag. So all I've done with this zip is top stitched it either side to the top of my bag. I've used about 1/8 of an inch seam on the top of my bag, and I've stitched it about 1 inch from either side of the edge of the gusset, from there as far as I can go, and that's how I do it. The other thing you can do with this, if you make your zipper tabs a bit longer, you could then attach like a long handle to that, a big long shoulder strap to it to finish it off, and that's that. So that's a really easy bag. I'll put all the dimensions in the description so you know what you need and how much fabric you need and all the sizing. You don't need, now you've got the demo, you don't need the physical pattern, but if you really want the physical pattern, it's on the Cross Patch website, so I'll put the details again in the descriptions. I'll show you something while I'm here. I'll show you something new that I've just finished. So this is my latest stitchery panel, another Crinoline Lady panel. If you want, I can do demos of how I do stitchery flowers on this at some stage. Oh, something else new, table runner new. So that I can do demo if you want it. It's just 1/4 square triangles and it's my rose stitcheries on the end, but you put like a 10-inch strip on the end or whatever length you want your table runner to be, and then you can just applique any stitchery. So it's got a different rose stitchery on each end of it, and this is about what did I think this was, about 48 inches long, so it just sits on top of my coffee table. Okay, so that's it for today. I'll be back subject to electricians. They're here for 2 weeks, so if I disappear for 2 weeks it's because I've got no Wi-Fi, because the electricians are working in the house. So wish me luck. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing. Please like and comment any comment you want, whether it's good or bad. Any comment helps because it adds to the algorithm or whatever. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll be back as soon as I can be. Okay, bye.